Bismillahi ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, President of the Assembly General, Secretary General of the United Nations, Your Majesties, Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to begin by congratulating Mr. Philemon Young upon his election to the helm of the 79th session of the General Assembly of the United Nations. I wish him every success in his mandate. I also wish to thank your predecessor, Mr. Dennis Francis, for his efforts at the head of the previous session. I should like to take this opportunity to affirm the total support of the Kingdom of Morocco to the initiatives and the efforts of Mr. Guterres to allow our organization to tackle global challenges, and in particular his initiatives on the Summit of the Future. Mr. President, every year we come together here and we face rapid, complex developments in the international context which we discuss. This transformation is fast. We have seen technological advances which have been very significant, especially in artificial intelligence. Of course, this aligns with the needs of our societies and the challenges that we face. The sense of collective security with regard to the very creation of the United Nations has given way to uncertainty now in many areas. These include the challenges that have to do with consumption, production, governance, and the very structure of our societies. This is what King Mohammed VI said, may God assist him, in the meeting of the World Bank and the IMF in Marrakesh. I have quoted the gist of what he said. Our planet faces climate change, which has imposed a new reality. In this context, data has shown that the problems that we are confronting should be overcome through multilateral organizations, those organizations that were created in the wake of World War II. End of quote. What we're asking ourselves today is, has multilateralism run up against its limit today? Do we need to to choose between multilateral action and the values and the principles that bring us together, the ideals, our ideals? Mr. President, the diplomatic doctrine of the Kingdom of Morocco is multilateral in its core. We focus on the ambition, clarity, and realism. We do this in order to achieve cooperation with our historic partners, a partnership that allows us to set up the necessary framework on the basis of effective solidarity and the sharing of experience. The goal of this being to tackle security and development challenges at the same time. The Kingdom of Morocco does not look for any short-term political opportunism. However, given our sense of realism, we need to travel the same path in order to confront the same challenges and the same threats. Now, it is not possible today to focus only on the failures of multilateral action We also cannot content ourselves with merely declaring good intentions. We need new momentum. We need new reform to which all segments, all strata of society, including women and young people, can contribute. In the wake of the Summit of the Future, we need to bring on board all of these groups. In order to implement a comprehensive multilateral program. This is what developing countries need, including what they need is for us to bring our experience to bear for their benefit. Climate change, Mr. President, is among the greatest challenges that our planet faces. This is why there is a need to support the states of Africa. These states are most affected by the results and the consequences of climate change, while these states are very minor contributors to pollution, which causes climate change. We also need to be aware of the problem of debt. We need to take into consideration the constraints imposed on African states when it comes to climate change adaptation. This is why we call for the creation of financing mechanisms that are innovative in order to allow for a resolution of debt crises. We also need to reform the international financial architecture. This in order to help developing countries achieve financing that allows for their economies to recover. These countries should also contribute to multilateral development banks, and these institutions must become more democratic in order to address debt crises more effectively. Indeed, such crises have a major impact on African countries' economies. This is why the Kingdom of Morocco, which chairs the group of middle-income countries, reiterates its call for multilateral actions to be taken, actions aiming to preserve the economic momentum that has been accumulated by these countries. Mr. President, in keeping with the vision of His Majesty King Mohammed VI, may God assist him, Morocco calls for pragmatic, realistic multilateralism to serve the needs of the African continent. This through effective mechanisms as regards decision-making. This is the approach of the Kingdom of Morocco. And this is why the government of Morocco has applied this approach in various areas. These areas include climate change and combating terrorism, inter alia. We work to implement social justice through structural workshops, which we have provided major resources to. Millions of people can benefit from direct social aid through this push. Mr. President, Morocco has turned toward the Atlantic. This is why we want to make the Sahel region an economically integrated area, a truly continental region. This is why King Mohammed VI, may God assist him, has worked to bolster collaboration between African countries through the Atlantic Initiative for the Sahel. This initiative is in keeping with the cooperation between countries of the South and aims to show solidarity to make the Atlantic and African area an area of peace, stability, and development. Furthermore, His Majesty launched an ambitious initiative an initiative that aims to facilitate the access of Sahel countries to the Atlantic, buoyed by the conviction that these countries have the right to participate in the global economy. This initiative is a pillar for development, peace, and prosperity in this part of the African continent. Furthermore, building on this same solidarity, we have worked to create an agreement linking Nigeria and Morocco in order to ensure regional economic integration, to promote the development of the Atlantic coast with 13 African states. The wisdom of our leaders and innovation that has been shown by our young people has allowed us to move forward, and we need further international solidarity in order to tackle all the challenges that we face. The Kingdom of Morocco is staunchly committed to the peaceful resolution of conflicts. We have thus been working in order to achieve a peaceful solution to the issue of Moroccan Sahara, and this on the basis of the Morocco Autonomy Initiative in the context of Moroccan sovereignty, which will allow for the development of this region. Indeed, we will continue, and we've seen the support from many countries to this autonomy plan. That sends a clear message to the states and to the United Nations. Indeed, it is time to act. It is time to put in place a political solution on this basis through the various roundtables that have been organized and in keeping with the relevant resolutions of the Security Council as well. We support the efforts of the Secretary General of the United Nations and those of his special envoy to relaunch the political roundtables with the participation of the 4 parties concerned in order to achieve a realistic, sustainable political solution based on consensus and based on the relevant Security Council resolution. His Majesty King Mohammed VI, may God assist him, has told the Secretary General that there can be no political process outside of these roundtables. The parameters of these roundtables have been set out by the United Nations with comprehensive participation by Algeria as well. No solution other than this Morocco autonomy plan can happen. No political process without a ceasefire of the armed militias is possible. This was recalled by the members of the Security Council as well. Thus, the lived reality in Moroccan Sahara is reflected in unprecedented development in Morocco through the projects we put in place through our new development plan for the provinces of the south. This region has benefited from comprehensive assistance through people that are democratically elected through local councils at all levels and at all areas of political decision making. So this has contributed to the political, social, and economic life of Morocco. This shows the territorial integrity of Moroccan Sahara and the fact that it belongs to Morocco. Mr. President, His Majesty King Mohammed VI, may God assist him, during his statement at the 25th anniversary of his accession to the throne, recalled the tragedy lived by the Palestinian people, which is a brotherly people. So we join various other Muslim and Arab countries in expressing our extreme concern at the serious situation that is affecting the occupied Palestinian territory. Since the end of 2023, millions of civilians millions of victims, mainly civilians, women and children, have fallen victim to this aggression against Gaza, which is a blatant violation of international law and of all human values. His Majesty King Mohammed VI called for setting aside the logic of crisis management to arrange for a sustainable solution that can put an end to the war in Gaza. This is an absolute priority. At the same time, we need a new political horizon, a horizon that allows us to reach a fair, lasting peace in the region. Second, the negotiation of a peace process between the Palestinian parties and the Israeli parties requires combating the extremist tendencies on both sides. Thirdly, the stability of the region is linked with the two-state solution. In the context of this solution, Gaza must be an integral part of Palestinian territory, a Palestinian state that must have East Jerusalem as its capital. In this regard, His Majesty King Mohammed VI, as a chair of the Al-Quds Committee in the Islamic Organization for Cooperation, called for the delivery of food and medical aid to our brothers in Gaza. The Kingdom of Morocco expresses its profound concern as regards the recent developments in the Middle East. Indeed, this situation is unprecedented, and it is leading toward an extension of the regime, which could lead to consequences that are difficult to anticipate. His Majesty King Mohammed VI clarified that the lack of a political horizon in the context of the Palestinian question is one of the most major factors in the resolution of this conflict in the Middle East. His Majesty has repeatedly warned that there could be serious consequences due to this lack of a political horizon. And he said that this could bring about a genuine tragedy, which could have serious consequences for peace and stability in the Middle East. This could also impact international peace and security. I wish here to express the total solidarity of the Kingdom of Morocco with the brotherly country of Lebanon, which is experiencing genuine aggression. We respect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Lebanon. President, there are numerous global challenges that face us today. This is why we need to appeal to our collective conscience. We need to rethink our working methods. We need to rethink our fundamental values. We need to return to our fundamental values. Indeed, the United Nations has collective responsibility, which should encourage us to return to our values of humanity, the humanity that underpinned the very inception of this organization. Thus, reform is needed as we approach the 80th anniversary of the creation of our organization. The Social Summit to be held in 2025, the Sustainable Development Goals, the 2030 Agenda, these are all a vision and a roadmap for the work and for collective action to be done in order to avoid further delays in development. I thank you, and may the peace of God be upon you.